My belief of future of work is that in the next 5 years, we will not have people working for one company. We will have people working for multiple companies doing just project-based assignments. There may be people working with Facebook and Amazon at the same time, just working on achieving some OKRs. So we are moving towards that direction. We've started using Google Sheets and Google presentations and Google Docs a lot more, because a lot of work gets done in parallel rather than just, switching emails and saying, now you give feedback, now you give feedback. So we've definitely switched fully to that, where we are using the whole Google Share ecosystem. But apart from that, we are not using any more different tools. We are in a journey of still pushing OKR-based, more manager-employee interaction over calls. We are trying to push that in. Every time we send out a communication organization while we are in a lockdown situation, we are pushing that back and forth to the managers. We are sending out separate emails to the managers to give them some tips of how to connect with your employees while you can't meet them. As leaders, it is definitely important that when you're measuring the success of your managers, who are actually the front line for all your employees, you definitely measure them on their OKRs, but also measure them on their relationships across 360 degrees. Because if you don't do that, you may probably fail at building a company culture you want to build if you're sitting remotely. My belief of future of work is that in the next 5 years, we will not have people working for one company. We will have people working for multiple companies doing just project-based assignments. There may be people working with Facebook and Amazon at the same time, just working on achieving some OKRs. So we are moving towards that direction. People in Saigon, they may not be living in big houses where their family, they don't have a space for themselves where they can just take calls without any noise. The internet connections can be weak. They don't feel connected to the team, especially if they've not joined the company long enough. So they don't understand what the company is working towards, what are the conditions, what is the expectation from a leadership principle point of view. So if I remember correct, 80% of our employees or 85% of our employees came back and said they don't want to work from home, right? They want to come to work. But at the same time, we need to balance this out and saying the future of work is going to be like that. We will have to, if we have to scale, we need to find places on how we do that. We need to train the managers on how to start measuring people when they're sitting virtually. A lot of managers across Asia, I would say, still have this idea of if you're coming to office at 9 o'clock and you're leaving office at 9 p.m., you're probably a very productive employee. So we have to change that thinking of saying 12 hours of spending time in office is probably not going to be productivity anymore. You really need to have clear OKRs, KPIs, goals, whatever you want to call them. And that needs to translate into how the employee is productive. How do you build that is something not that easy. So as HR professionals, we need to be well equipped to help them build that. There are a lot of tools now available in the market on where OKRs can be built if you don't want to just do it over an Excel sheet. So they can be built, they can be tracked, they can be changed. So that is another thing which is really important as HR professionals, what our job would look like if we want to really promote the work culture. And the third thing is also consistently making sure that we are going back again and again and talking about our core values, talking about our leadership principles, talking about what the company stands for. Even if it looks like a repetition, it should be done like once in every 2 weeks for people to consistently, remember this. That's important. The fourth thing, which is very important as HR professionals, we understand, the scope of what company does at a company-wide perspective. We understand every function. We understand what each and every function does. There are some functions which cannot go remote. like operations cannot go remote, right? Like in Tiki, we cannot have fulfillment center employees working remotely. They have to be in office to do it. So it is very important for us to understand where we are focusing our energies on, what are we trying to do, and how we are distinguishing which functions can actually be remote, which cannot be remote. Because a lot of times the business leaders will say, I want everybody in office because, my FC workers are working from the fulfillment center. But it is our job to explain to them that you do not need the tech people who are working and building the tech for the fulfillment center actually in office. So we need to be able to clarify and also gauge which roles can actually work remote and which roles cannot work remote. So we are probably the pioneers which will show the direction on how remote working would work and lay that foundation. And then it comes to engagement. I already expressed my thoughts on what engagement means, but it's good to have some fun activities as well. So the fun activities can range differently every week, but eventually you will see that those fun activities, you'll start seeing a drop in that, because again, that's not engagement, that's just like distraction. You need to get to understanding how you can engage employees, which means a lot more communication over emails, a lot more communication in terms of all hands updates, forcing managers to make sure their OKR involves having one-to-one with each and every one of their employees, at least bi-weekly. So all these need to be tracked.